For nearly 6 decades, Bill Gaither has been a pioneer and a central figure in Christian music, starting with the Bill Gaither Trio to the Gaither Vocal Band to the Gaither Homecoming videos and television series. Bill Gaither has been a pioneer in the field of gospel music. But it's his songs that will be remembered for generations to come. Classics like He Touched Me and Because He Lives have been sung around the world by people of all races, ethnicities, and cultures. Bill Gaither is a husband, father, grandfather, educator, songwriter, singer, and producer. But at heart, he really is a fan of this art form called gospel music.
Something happened, and now
Bill Bailey began promoting Southern gospel concerts when he was just 16 years old and started pastoring his church at the ripe old age of 20. The last 3 decades have been filled with thousands of concert promotions, annually hosting the Southern Gospel Hall of Fame inductions and the National Quartet Convention, ministering to a worldwide audience on the Sun Life Broadcasting Network, directing and hosting the critically acclaimed Sing the Glory Down online concert series, and preaching every Sunday at the Happy Gospel Church in Bradenton, Florida. He is regarded and highly respected as one of the leaders in today's world of gospel music. Recently, these 2 gospel music friends sat down and shared some stories, laughs, and memories. We now invite you to be a fly on the wall of their conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2 Bills of gospel music, a candid conversation about life, family, gospel music, and legacy. Here's Bill Gaither and Bill Bailey.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching today, and I am so thrilled to have Bill Gaither with me and this special that we're doing called the 2 Bills of Gospel Music. Bill Gaither, how is Indiana today?
Oh, it's perfect today. We live all year to find days like today. It was like 60 in the morning. It'll get up to about 75 today. And I like to tell all of you visitors, we have that kind of weather 90% of the time, but I'd be lying.
Well, listen, thanks for spending a few moments with me. I know I interrupted your morning walk this morning.
I was down. We bought 20 acres when Gloria and I were teaching. It was just a field. And I planted trees. We bought that 55 years ago. We've lived there 55 years. And I started planting trees. And Bill, you would be jealous if you would see these big, beautiful trees. And I try to tell young people when they see it, those were planted 55 years ago.
Wow.
Good things take time. Hang in there, and there are some coupons you can clip if you live long enough.
Wow, that's a good word.
Yeah.
That's a good word. You know, Bill, your life story and love for gospel music, it's been amazing. And really it's a love for Christian music because the Gaither name and your music has transcended generations and styles. But when I've heard you talk about that little boy that fell in love with gospel music on the radio. Tell me about the infancy of the love of gospel music from Bill Gaither.
I suppose I will always be in love with the radio because that was my introduction to the music. And I still love the song. And listen to the music in the air. You know, I can remember in 48, and I know Mark Lowry and Kevin Williams would say, don't go back to milking those cows again, Bill. Be honest with you, that's where it started. And Kevin would say, you learn how to do it. Give the world a smile each day by milking the cows. And my brother and I would get up early in the morning and we milked them by hand. This was before electric milkers came along. But we'd come back, Mom would have bacon and eggs, and we'd have the radio on to WIBC in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I heard the Dixie Four do that. Give the world a smile each day. And I heard that bass, that low bass, and the harmony and the counterparts. I fell in love with it. That was in 48. And I started ordering music through the mail. And there's a musical called The Music Man where the little guy waits for the Wells Fargo wagon to come bring him something in the mail. And he says, oh, the Wells Fargo wagon is coming down the street. For me, it was a mailman, because it would be a 78 RPM package. And Allie Miller, our mailman, would blow the horn because they couldn't fit it in the mailbox. And it would be a new record from the Rangers, from the Statesmen, and the Blackwoods. And then that led to my bugging my father, because I turned into WSM in Nashville. And I said, they have a Friday night sing at the Ryman Auditorium. Bill, I can still take you to the very seat that I sat in 1949 at the Ryman Auditorium. It's 10 rows back from the stage. It's right before you go under the balcony. Many of your listeners have been to the Ryman. I can show you that seat. I got in there at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and at 2:30 in the morning, Dad was sitting by me and said, you ready to go, Bill? And I said, well, the Homeland Harmony is going to be on in about 10 minutes. Now that's a fan.
That is a fan. You couldn't today, it wouldn't matter. I've told people, if Jesus and the original disciples were coming on after 10 o'clock, they're going home.
They're going to go home.
It's a different era.
At 10 o'clock, it just started. I mean, at 8 o'clock, they'd have some of the local groups, they'd be okay. But boy, 10 or 10:30, Wally Fowler would say, and now from Atlanta, Georgia, and the people would start applauding Brother Hovey Lister and the Sensational Statesman. Oh, my land. We were on our feet before they even started. At 10:30, Bill, it got started.
4 vocalists and a piano player, and they destroy the place.
They totally destroyed the place. You know, Elvis, he had been 13, 14 years old in Tupelo, and the Statesman would come to town. And he said to people, he said, I saw what they could do with just a piano player and 4 guys. And of course, Elvis was influenced by gospel and by country and by rhythm and blues, black gospel or black music and black gospel music. All of those, we're all influenced by stuff that makes us who we are. And he saw Hovey up there creating hysteria with just the piano. Of course, Hovey was yelling and screaming by everything. Jake said when he first started singing with Hovey, he said, what's all that noise over there at the piano? Well, it was Hovey trying to make up for a bass player and a drummer and a guitar and all the other sounds to help.
He could do it.
And I try to explain this to the younger guys because they saw Hovey and the Statesman in the 60s, and it wasn't the same as in 49 and 50 and 51 at the Ryman Auditorium. It was amazing. And as I say, they didn't get on until 10 or 10:30. And then it went to 2:30 in the morning. There are a lot of groups there.
Wow. Bill, let me ask you about when did Gloria come in the picture? How did you meet, and how did she deal with this? You know, she seems to be the literary, that's her gift, and here you are, the music person, and yet together y'all have made such a dynamic team. But how did she handle this kid that loved gospel music?
We have we keep putting these clips out on Gaither Music, our YouTube. I don't even know what they call it. I think it's Gaither Music YouTube. But we just put out, what do you call it, Doug? Gaither TV. Okay. And we just put out that clip. She was in the second video. She wasn't at the first one. And I'll be honest with you, when I I see, I didn't meet her till I was 27, 26,
Okay.
27. I was single and happy. I didn't want to complicate my life with anybody else, you know, but I saw her at the school and we started we'd go to lunch together and we talked. Anybody who knows me knows I love life, period. I love theology. I love history. I love political theory. And so we started talking about all that stuff and never much. And we certainly talked about our love for the Lord, but I didn't tell her much about my love for this whole other world that I love, because there are many parts of Bill Gaither. I was teaching English at the time, okay, and very happy. I could have been happy the rest of my life.
Was she a school teacher as well?
She was substituting in French. I often tell people I met her in high school. I said, "Don't get excited. She was not a student, okay? She was a fellow. She was a fellow teacher." And so we started dating, and unlike other girls I had dated, I said, I better not let this one get away, because she was so bright and she loved the Lord. But I said, I got to tell her about my other life. Now, Bill, you got to understand this.
My other life. That's incredible.
You know, today, gospel music is accepted as part of our whole culture, as part of Americana. Back in the 60s, you were a little bit weird and strange. All the rest of the kids were listening to pop music, and I liked some of it. When rock and roll came along, to be honest with you, I wasn't really impressed with that. But I was impressed with the Four Preps, the Four Lads, the Four Knights, the Ames Brothers. They were all secular quartets. But when you compared them to the Statesmen or the Blackwoods, there was no comparison. Statesmen and Blackwoods were so much better than that. But in high school, the other kids didn't know that. And so when I hear Barbara Mantrell saying, I was country before country was cool, I think I was gospel before gospel was cool. Barbara Mandrell and her song said, we used to go by the drive-in, not theater, but the drive-in food place. What do you, I think they call those drive-ups. Drive-ups, yeah. And he said, and she said, I would have George Jones on, but I'd turn it down because it's summertime. I'd turn it down because the other kids were all listening to pop music. When I heard that line, I cried, because I can remember going home on Friday nights when the rest of the kids, I mean, I would go to the ball game, to the Friday night basketball game. I'd come home and the rest of the kids would do what they did from 10 or 10:30 into the night. But I was home and I go out in my car, in my dad's car, and turn it on WSM, because at 11 o'clock, Wally Fowler came on with the gospel music. And you know what? I think it kept me out of a lot of trouble, to be honest with you. Because I've often said to my kids, my grandkids, I hope you find something that grabs your heart like that grabbed my heart. And maybe it was just a time in history. Maybe that can't happen today. I think it can. Gloria said the other day, she got a call from one of the grandkids who was kind of discouraged. He's even college, and said, last night at 12 o'clock, I was down and I turned on my computer, and there you were singing "The Church Triumphant is Alive and Well." So here's a young grandson listening to, "This old ship's been through battles before, storms and tempests, rocks on the shore. Though the hull may be battered, inside it's safe and dry. It will carry its cargo to the port in the sky. Let the church be the church." And he said, and he's a very bright kid, makes straight A's. He said, "Mama, that really spoke to me last night." Wow. So that's encouraging to think of something as tough as it was for me in 49, 50 as a kid, struggling with who I was, what I was going to be, and was this cool You know what I found out what cool is, Bill? Being what you are. It doesn't get any more cool than just being what you are. And I finally came to
Tell me about your while you're mentioning that. Uh, Tell me about your family, your children, your grandchildren. Uh, we all know Bill and Gloria, but tell me about the family God has blessed you with.
You know what? We have we were pretty protective of our family as we were growing up. We were school teachers for 10 years, okay? And because I tried to do this when I was 19, and I was with a group of guys, 4 guys that were good singers. We thought we were pretty good, but we starved to death. It was one of the best years of my life. I learned that good things take time. Good things take time. And so I came back and I went to college and met that sweet lady after college, not when I was in college. And we started having kids. And when they were younger, we would have them come up and sing on the stage. I can remember Amy go, I am a promise, I am a possibility, I am a promise with the capital P. I am a great big bundle of potentiality. And she would belt it out. We did that till she was about 9 or 10 or 11. And then something inside of us said, we need to be a little bit careful with this because this was in the early 70s and Bill, God had blessed us. We were out in LA, in Oakland, in Coliseum, or in arenas that seated, we were having 12, 13, 14, 15,000 people. We couldn't figure it out. I mean,
Wow.
I call that a God thing, you know. I remember going to Fort Worth to the old Tarrant County Convention Center that held 14,000 people. And the manager of that auditorium said to Bill Carter, who was trying to get some group centers, said, there are only 2 people sell this out. Elvis sells it out, he said. And then there's a school teacher and his wife and his brother from Indiana. Said, it's the craziest thing you ever saw. Said, 14,000 people come in here and they just sit down at the piano and Bill says, sing with me, something beautiful. And they're all singing something good, all my confusion. He understood. He couldn't figure it out. So Amy, Suzanne was our firstborn, and Amy came along, and then Benji came along, and we had them sing on stage for a while. And not every family does it this way. I understand this. We finally said, I think it's best that we kind of wait and let them figure out what they want to do.
Right.
I'll never forget Dr. Reardon from Anderson University, who was a leader in our church. And he had 4 kids. He says, Bill, it's not going to be easy being your son. Mm-hmm. And that stuck with me. And he said, I said, you got any advice? He said, just be very wise and very sensitive. So let me insert this right here, Bill, and then I'll finish with our family. Anybody knows me knows how much I love the artists in our group. I think of the Easters. I mean, I don't have any better friends than Jeff and Sherry Easter. And they got 3 kids, and a Karen Pack and her kid, and her family, the Isaacs, and Greg Pritchie, Greg Ritchie. You can edit this. You can edit this. And Greg Ritchie and Charlotte, they got kids, and so they have all said, how did you handle this, the whole stage thing and your kids? And I said, very carefully, very carefully.
Good advice.
Because, yeah, and there have been a lot of good examples, and it started with Mom and Dad Spear. Ben Spear, 6 years old, had a ukulele and was singing with the Spear family. And of course, they developed, and he was an amazing adult lead singer in the Spear family. Brock came along, Mary Tom and Rosnell. That seemed to work for them. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
So with our kids, we said, we want you to have the freedom to do anything you want to do. Don't think you have to do what we want to do. And in some ways, I was kind of praying they might do something else, because let me insert this. Making a living doing this is not easy. Mm-hmm. And especially these are tough times. And there's a lot of struggle. So I've encouraged kids develop other skills. So I'm saying all of that. You said, how about your kids? So so they say, are they artistic? They are very artistic. Amy, who sang I'm a Promise and who's a great singer, went on to be quite a Shakespearean, I think, actress and very, very good teacher at DePaul University, teaching it. Is she still in the arts? Yes, it just doesn't happen to be music. Does she still love Jesus? Yes, she still loves Jesus. Just it doesn't happen to be doing what we're doing. Suzanne, and she has 3 kids. And they're all pretty artistic, but their art is not the way Grandma and Grandpa does what we do, okay? Suzanne, our oldest, is an unbelievable writer. Suzanne has written many of the songs. She's much like her mother, and also Amy is a great poet too. But Suzanne wrote the lyrics of men full of compassion who laugh and love and cry, men who face eternity and aren't afraid to die, men who'll fight for freedom and honor once again. We just need a few good men.
Wow.
So can she write a lyric?
Great lyric.
And she wrote Mark's lyric that he sings, Lord, I've seen a lot of crazy things done in your name. I know the tricks behind the magic show, but she was saying, but for me, make it real. I want it to be real for me. Oh. So they're great artists and they love the Lord. Benji came along. He was a rock and roller. Boy, he just loved energy songs. And as a kid, as a teenager, that was a little tough. That was a little tough for Dad. I love guitars, but be honest with you, I love acoustic guitars a little bit better than I love electric guitars. When you plug those into the walls, I think of Gene McDonald's, who travels with us, the great bass singer. His mother is a great lady from Memphis. And one day they were talking about praise and worship music. And she said, you know what? I didn't like that praise and worship music for a long time until my grandson started playing in the praise and worship band in our church.
There you go.
I kind of got to like it. So in all fairness, Bill, you're looking at a bridge here. I've been a bridge. Somebody said, what do you want them to say when you die, after you die? I hope they say he was a wonderful bridge. He brought people together. He told the contemporary field, and there's a lot of wonderful kids in that field. Chris Tomlin wrote Jesus Messiah. He just loves the Lord. He just does it in a different kind of way. And it's fun to talk to Chris and say, man, if you could get to know somebody in the Southern, you would love them,
Yes.
And so I'm a bridge. And so with my kids, and so Benji with his rock and roll music has written a lot of the stuff we sing. One of the biggest songs we had was, if you want more happy than your heart can hold, if you want to be full, just give it away, give it away. We sang that song every night. Do you know, Bill, now you're talking to an 84-year-old guy with ADD. I'm all over the place. And I'll get back to your question about my kids. We sang that song every night for 2 years and gave away $1,000 every night with a drawing. And we told our people, you take this $1,000 and you won it tonight, but you have to give it away to somebody else. And they write back to us and tell what happened to the money.
That's amazing.
That was an amazing thing. So Benji wrote that. Benji is a great musician, and he's dealt a lot with movies and documentaries and all that kind of stuff.
So he's got three kids, and how many grandchildren total?
Benji's got two, and they're already doing voiceover. His two kids are doing voiceover parts because Benji's got all kind of equipment in his basement at his house, and they're just like 10 and 12, I think, and they're getting all kinds of parts out in California with their voiceovers with kids stuff. Amy's got three. Her oldest is a forest ranger in California or
Wow.
in Colorado. He loves the outside. He loves animals. He loves it. So his major was in environmental science. And he was at our house this summer for a couple months. Just a delight. He loved our pond, could tell us the stuff that was happening in the pond, what we needed to do to shock the pond for algae and all this stuff. And then Suzanne and Amy's got a daughter and then a young son who just graduated from Culver Military Academy in number one in his class, or number one or two in his class. So we're proud of him. He's in college now. And then Suzanne has got two boys. Will is a lot like his granddad. He never saw a person he didn't know or like. He's a people person. His brother Jess is the total opposite. Very, very quiet, very cerebral, and went to University of Edinburgh and graduate and his major was in science, in physics, but he's doing a master's in composition at NYC in New York. So I'm bragging, but you ask, so you can use as much of that as you want to use.
No, people want to know about your family, and those are great words. Hey, you're watching the Two Bills of Gospel Music. I'm Bill Bailey, and I am with Bill Gaither today. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we got a lot more to talk about gospel music, history, and legacy. Thanks for watching.
Well, I've got God on my side, and no, I can't. No, I can't. Well, I've got God on my side, and I've been praying, I've been giving, I've been serving, I've been praising, I've been praying, I've been giving, I've been serving, I've been praising, I've been praying, I've been giving, I've been serving, I've been praising, I've got God on my side.
You're watching the Two Bills of Gospel Music, a candid conversation about life, family, gospel music, and legacy. And now, here's Bill Bailey and Bill Gaither.
Welcome back to the Two Bills of Gospel Music. I'm Bill Bailey, and I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with Bill Gaither. Bill, once again, thanks for hanging out with me for a few today.
Bill, it's a joy to hang out with you.
Hey, I want to talk to you. We talked a little bit about your life, but I want to talk to you about gospel music in general, because it really has been your life now for over 60 years as a young person falling in love with it. And tell me, God has really gifted you and anointed you and Gloria to write music, lyrics, just some of the greatest lyrics. I was just writing a few of these. The longer I serve him, because he lives, the King is coming, something beautiful. He touched me. It is finished. Let's just praise the Lord. The children's song, I Am a Promise. Jesus, there's just something about that name. A question about songwriting. Is it a gift or is it a talent that can be acquired?
Well, you'll get probably two different answers from me and one from Gloria. Gloria has a songwriting seminar, and she and I are not totally on the same page on that, although she's got good response from it.
I'm just glad to hear you admit that you and Gloria aren't always in agreement.
I think of Ken Davis. He said he was talking one time. He said, "You're going to have arguments, if you're living together. Just it's part of life." And some old guy came up to Ken and said, "I heard what you said. My wife and I have been married for 63 years, and we have never had an argument." And Ken said, "Well, God bless you, my friend. But if you've been living together for 63 years and you've never had an argument, one of you is dead." I like that. I like that. Yeah. But she's had good success in this seminar she does, the 3 or 4 day intensive that she does every June. And I think you can teach the craft. I think the writing itself is a gift. And I do think there's a combination that once you have a gift, somebody asked Dean Smith, Coach Smith, what did you teach Michael Jordan about basketball? He said, "I'm not sure I taught him a lot about basketball because he was so gifted. I hope I taught him something about life."
Mm.
And I think that was a good answer. But I think back, there is something about genius. Even when I listen to Mozart, and I listen to classical writers and Beethoven, I mean, that is a gift. Same thing is true with singing. One out of here. I'm gonna put it. The same thing is true with singing. I look at a Michael English, and that was just a gift. And I've talked to him about this. And he says, I know. There are few originals, in our field. I think Jake Hess was an original. James was probably an original, and there are original voices that come along, and no doubt in writing there's a genius factor. I mean, Fanny Crosby.
Yeah.
How in the world does that still translate till today? Blessed assurance, all is at rest. I, with my Savior, am happy and blessed. We still sing that, young and old. Even the contemporary kids, when they're writing praise and worship, I see they're going back more and more to old hymns for the lyrics, not so much for the music, but for the lyrics and for the ideas. She had it. Fanny Crosby had it. Stuart Hamlin had it. I mean, it's just a genius line. The things of earth will dim and lose their value. If we recall, they're just borrowed for a while. And the things of earth that cause a heart to tremble, remembered there. Well, I call that genius. Mosey Lister still lives today because of till the storm passes over, till the thunder sounds no more, till the clouds roll forever from the sky.
Yeah.
Hold me fast, let me stand in the hollow of your hand. Keep me safe till the storm. Pat, are we in a storm? Are we in the middle of a major? For 9 months we have been hunkered down, and I've sung that song. Even why does that live? Because of what I call a gift of genius that sparks the heart. I think, and I can give you all kind of examples of Mosey.
You gave me an example, Bill, when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, and I have this come on when I'm on the phone with someone. One of my first remarks, kind of icebreaker, and I said to you was, "Is anybody on the Lord's side in Indiana?" And it sparked something in you when I said that. You mentioned about the highly political climate that we're in right now, election season. And along these lines of songwriting, you made mention about the lyrics, again, that are timeless that God gave you about kings and kingdoms. To talk about that for a moment. It was amazing to hear you say that.
Yeah, November the 3rd, when an election is, there's going to be one party in or the other party in, and I'm concerned. My biggest concern is no matter who gets in, is going to be the aftermath of all of that and what is going to happen. And I have strong political feelings, which I don't ever express publicly, because you're going to, if it's the minute you do it, you're going to get a fight. And so what I do is say is here. It doesn't make any difference, because we've written it in 1,000 different ways. Kings and kingdoms will all pass away. I don't care what the kingdom is, but there's just something about his name. And the scripture is so full of it. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar. Jesus told us he didn't tell us not to be connected, because we are in the world and we've got to make a difference in the world. But don't ever forget that we belong to another kingdom. And no matter what happens, and we've said it in 1,000 ways. I said it in a fun tune that we wrote many years ago. I've noticed all the bad news in the paper. And I rewrote this 40 years ago. It seems like things are bleaker every day, but for the child of God, it makes no difference, because things are going to get better either way. I've never been more excited about tomorrow. Sunshine's always breaking through the clouds of gray. I just feel like something good is about to happen. And brother, this could be that very day. And this what?
Powerful lyrics that can change people's lives.
Well, otherwise you're going to be in depression, and I'm not saying there isn't such a thing as chemical depression, and it's real, but it depends on what kingdom you're part of. I'm sorry, I love this world, and I love our country, and I love the little 20 acres that God has given us, where I could go out this morning with the birds singing and with my headphones on, listening to songs of heaven. I love all of that. But this world is not our home. Do we believe what we have sung all these years, or do we not believe it? This world is not our home. We're just passing through. Our treasures are in heaven. Gloria and I wrote another song called Now Is Forever. Forever starts here. My treasure in heaven is what I hold dear. The things that I value will show in the mirror, because now, beginning right now, to me, this is an eternal moment, spending with you. I love our friendship and all of this, but sharing ideas that maybe could change some life, somebody who is listening in. So back to the songwriting of Mosey, Stewart, Ira Stanfill was another. One of the greatest pieces of theology written in the last century was Many Things About Tomorrow. I don't seem to understand, but I know who holds tomorrow. Yeah. You know why I keep doing it at 85? Because I believe that, or 84. I believe that, and I'm going to do it until I don't have any more breath to say it in as many different ways as we can say it. Now, the great thing about Stewart is, the other writer said, this world's not a home, we're just passing through. But Stewart then would come back on the chorus and say, but until then, what are we going to do while we're down here? We're going to make a difference with everything we touch,
That's great words of encouragement. Hey, I got a couple other things in this segment I want to ask you about in regards to gospel music. One of the neat things along those lines, when you go to a Gaither concert or homecoming event, I'll just mention this, it's not a political rally. You are very guarded to make sure that regardless of people's backgrounds, that they have a safe place to come and worship and celebrate together. And boy, how much we need that. in today's environment. In regards to the homecoming, really Bill Gaither's life is in music is almost in two halves. You had the Gaither trio, and then as the Gaither vocal band transitioned, and then the homecoming. Was it really an accident of how the homecoming actually began, or was it some designed masterpiece of Bill Gaither one day or did it just kind of happen? Tell me about that. Where could I go but to the Lord?
It was a beautiful, beautiful accident. Before God, we were on the bus, Michael English, Mark Lowry, Jimmy Murray, and we were all talking about these people who had been a major influence on our life. And to be honest with you, many of them were kind of put on the shelf. We looked at the country field and said, they honor their heroes much better than we do. And we said, that shouldn't be. That should not be. And so I went to a record company and I said, because we were seeking for a little bit of identity musically, stylistically. And we just couldn't get out of the shadow of the trio. The people were just used to Gloria and me and Gary singing the lead, or my brother Danny singing the lead. And we couldn't get out of that shadow. In fact, when he said vocal band, they thought we were going to bring horns and play, And so we were trying to get some kind of identification. And we said to our record company, we want to do this with all of our heroes from the past. And to them, that was a negative, only from the standpoint of people will think that you're going back, and so with that they said it will ruin your image. Now, this is in 1990, and I laughed and I said, "What image? They don't know who we are." The Gaither vocal band, they knew who Bill and Gloria were with the writing. I said, they don't know who we are. Well, we don't have any image to ruin. So let us do this just out of a good motive. We want to say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm sitting in this room. If you ever come up here, Bill, I'll show it to you. This is Studio C. This room has ghosts. Vestal, on a given night, you can see Vestal walk through here. You can see Jake walk through, James, and it brings back the little boy in me in 1949, 13 years old, sitting at the Ryman Auditorium, listening to all of that. And that's all we wanted to do. So we brought him in and we sang, "Living Below in This Old Sinful World." And we had various lines, and it took us 2 hours that morning to do what they called, and what we still call, a music video, okay, of one song. It was 4 minutes long. We brought in fried chicken, Colonel Sanders fried chicken, because we were going to take a picture. First of all, you couldn't keep them from talking. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. Now, you're a promoter, and you're in this field. I'd like to say there's always a sweet, sweet spirit between groups, and who goes on first, who goes on second. There wasn't, especially in those days. There was a lot more competition going on, but they hadn't seen each other for a long time. And we looked at that and said, it's just wonderful. So we took a picture around the piano with Eva Mae just sitting there for the image, for the photographer to take the picture. They took the picture, and Larry Gatlin said, "Eva Mae, play something." "I'll meet you in the morning by the bright riverside." They started singing. Tears started rolling. There was only one camera, because all they wanted to get was just a few little shots of us together, maybe embracing each other with a hug. And the camera started watching. And finally he says, "We better set up a mic. This sounds good." And when you go back and look at that first video, it's only about 55 minutes long, because we sang for 3 hours, but that's all the usable stuff I could get because all the rest of it was moving around and everything else.
You know, what I think about you, Bill, and I know for my own sake at 51, just sitting on the side stage of the quartet convention, hosting NQC or our concerts, I'm the biggest fan. I love the music. And I think that's one of the things that has made the Gaither brand and yourself so successful is at the end of the day, there's not a bigger lover of this music than Bill Gaither. And it shows your passion, not to be gratuitous, but the twinkle in your eye, the smile on your face. People just know that Bill Gaither genuinely loves this music. Is it a business? Is it a brand, so to speak? Yes, it is. But at the end of the day, there's this genuineness that comes across in everything you do, and I love it because I get it. I truly get it. How did you? Talking about all of those different names and all of those different personalities, and I don't mean this in a negative way, egos in the room.
Absolutely.
How did you manage that? Because what we see, it looks like a big old family reunion, but there's a lot of personalities in that room.
Yeah. You know, one of our tapings we did at Carnegie Hall in New York City, and Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel was backstage. He's Jewish, and he was there only because his group had done backup for Jesse Dixon, and Jesse was on our platform. Jesse was a bridge too. He was black gospel, he was Southern gospel, he was everything. But anyway, Paul Simon said to me, "How in the world do you get all of those artists up there just singing background with everybody else?" Well, it goes back to the first one. They were there because, I wasn't in that field as much because we were doing our trio thing, but I still had contacts with all of them. Jake goes clear back to 52, 53.
Well, they were singing your music as well.
Yeah, and then finally in the 60s when we started writing, the Spear family picked up I've Been Calvary, and then the Old Fashioned Meeting, and that went on and on in the 60s. And then the Statesman came along, then the Imperials did He Touched Me, and this, and that's where Elvis heard it. So, I mean, we had to connect. So when I called, there was no problem there. They said, we'd love to be there. When they got there, they just loved to be together. And so they were just sitting around the piano and say, Howard sang, "I don't want to get adjusted." So Howard sang a little bit of that. And Michael was there. Michael had not really been around Jake. And his Charlie Burke always wanted him to sing like Jake. And he said, "I can't sing, I can sing like me." So he didn't really have a real positive attitude about Jake until Jake came in and sang "Prayer is the Key to Heaven with Faith." And you can see it on video. And Michael just sitting there, tears running down his face. And he said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know him." He said, "But what a sweet, sweet man." And Jake was such a fan. Everybody was a fan of everybody else and what they did. Okay, so we did the second one. JD told me after the first one, said, "Well, you might do a second one, but you won't get that magic again." Well, we did the second one. And he said, "You sure could fool me." There was another a person, and I won't say his name because he's a dear friend, who came to me and to Jake and said, "I'm really ticked off at Bill because I wanted to do that." This is after we had done maybe 100 different shows and tapings and stuff, And Jake looked at this guy, and we both laughed about it. He said, "We might have done 1 or 2 with you. We wouldn't have done 100, 150 with you." The only guy who would do that was, and I'm bragging now on me, so this is not very good, but I think it was my love for them and their love for me that because a lot of times they'd come in and sit on the whole set, and they were people who were good soloists, but didn't do a thing in the show.
You know, Bill, you mentioned that, and I would have to say those artists trusted you. They respected you because probably no one else could have told them what to do without some of them raising up, you know, and saying, well, no one's going to tell me what to do. I'm my own artist. But the respect level that you had and still have to this day with those artists was amazing, that you could move that ship in whatever direction you felt led, and they would just follow. And the results were extraordinary.
When I was 19, Bill, I tried to do this professionally. I mentioned this earlier, and I failed. And I really had to conclude, Bill, you can sing, but you're not in Gary McSpadden's category. And you ain't never going to be in that category. Now, that's kind of tough for a 19-year-old, but I had to look at that. You can play. As Ben Spears said, Bill, I've never heard anybody play as long as you have played and improve as little as you have improved. And I knew I wasn't good at that. But then the writing came along, and I look at some of the great music writers, and there are many who are better than I. I was okay there. But one thing I do take a lot of pride in, I do know people's gifts and where they can shine and where their sweet spot is. And I've had the artists say to me, Linda Randall, you know, Peggy had sung God on the Mountain all over the place, and great job doing it. But I said, Linda, you need to sing this in a very low range. Life is easy down in your range. When you're down and with all the soul that you have, you know, to do that. She said, oh, Bill, I was born in the city. You know, that's just not my kind of music. I said, trust me. She tells a story on the stage. I said, trust me. After that, she says, I'll trust you on anything you want to tell me. On the Gaither music videos, we keep track of it. She has 44 million views on God on the Mountain.
Incredible. But she was willing to follow your direction because she respected you.
I feel confident in that gifting. My gifting probably wasn't the greatest songwriter, certainly not piano player, but I feel confident, and that's called a producer. That's a producer probably not going to have his name on the front of the bus.
Well,
but
some moments come naturally or miraculously. We weren't expecting them. But then Bill Gaither has created some moments that then took a life of its own, but you had to put those pieces together, and you're a master at that.
Well, you're kind. You're kind, and I have been blessed because during this pandemic, I'm up in my office many times, and they've given me this new little stick. I'll say, Vesta Goodman singing the Holy Hills of Heaven, and it'll come up, and I'll say, there'll be 4 or 5 different settings of where we have done it, you know. Our whole internet, I know nothing about. I don't know how to turn any of this on, but the company does. And daily, the stuff that's happening on our website or on our music channel, it's just amazing.
You can sit in the studio and touch the world, Bill.
Well, it's a beautiful way to do this. You know, I'm here at our little town and been able to do this here today, and I thank God for that.
Hey everyone, you're watching the Two Bills of Gospel Music, and my name is Bill Bailey, and I am privileged to be with Bill Gaither today. We're having some incredible conversation. We're going to take a quick break. We have one more segment. Thanks so much for watching today, and stay tuned as we talk more in just a moment.
Well, I've got God on my side, and now
You're watching the Two Bills of Gospel Music, a candid conversation about life, family, gospel music, and legacy. And now, here's Bill Bailey and Bill Gaither.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Two Bills of Gospel Music. I'm Bill Bailey and I'm sitting here with Bill Gaither. We've been having an incredible conversation. I feel like I've been to a clinic today, Bill, and I know our time is short. So, hey, I want to ask you a question and give me a brief answer, if you will. Is gospel music ministry or entertainment? Answer that for me, because that's a very highly debated question.
Okay. Hovey Lister, somebody asked him back in the 50s, because there were some Christian magazines very critical of the showmanship of Hovey and the Statesman. So somebody said, "Do you consider what you do entertainment or ministry?" To which Hovey said, yes, next question. I have used that on occasion, but lately, I've had various answers for that. That's really a fair question. Secular guys usually, they don't know how to cover us. You know, is this church stuff or is this entertainment? The great thing about Jesus, when he was born, the angels started singing. And they've never quit singing about him, about how great he is. Glory in the highest, peace. You know, I mean, and the great thing about this gospel, and if I were part of another world religion, I'd be so jealous of the art. Can you think of any great music that comes out of any other world religion?
No, not at all.
There's probably some, but boy, I tell you, come December 25th, everybody is singing "Joy to the World." You know, so I mean, the Christian faith has produced a lot of art. Now the question is it just art? So when the secular person would ask me, I said, "Oh, I love this question." They said, "I love it." I said, "You're probably asking the wrong person. Is it ministry or is it entertainment? Why didn't you ask the guy who bought the ticket?" I'll never forget sitting beside another artist, and we were listening to an artist who was making a lot of chatter on the stage about, now, we're not entertainers. We are ministers. We're not entertainers. So after 35 minutes, the guy sitting next to me said, they must be ministering, because they are certainly not very entertaining. I got to go back to Jesus on the hillside of the Sea of Galilee. He must have been a pretty good entertainer. Entertainment means getting your attention. You know, I mean, to keep 5,000 people interested without a PA set, and he was a storyteller. Let me tell you, somebody tried to trick him. Let me tell you a story. So I have to say, yes, secular people use microphones. Here's our microphone. We use microphones. Secular people use this piano. We use a piano. Secular people use a PA set. Secular people, the only difference is and secular people use the same notes. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You know, they use the same notes. The only thing that makes a difference is the lyric that goes to all of that.
That's good.
So for me, and so then I asked the secular entertainer or the reporter, I say, does your local symphony and symphonic choir do the Messiah at Christmas? Yes. How many of those people who are playing violins and singers are doing that as an opportunity of making a statement of the faith? There is no statement of faith any stronger than, and he shall reign forever, ever. King of kings, Lord of lords, Jesus, the Messiah. I mean, That's as strong of a theological statement you could make. Now, how many people are up there singing that with all their heart, playing that with all their heart, saying, this is the statement of my personal testimony as to who I am? And how many are playing it saying, this is a brilliant piece of music? Now, here again, when Jesus was born, he started all these creative juices going. And whether you're a Christian or not, when you hear songs like, he knew me, yet he loved me, he whose glory makes the heavens shine, or a Chris Christopherson song, Lord, help me, Jesus, I have wasted it, so help me, Jesus, I know what I am. I thank God that it is also, I talked to our vocal band, I said, we want to have good art and good heart. I think it's possible.
That is great.
To have good music done as well. Because when I listened to the Statesmen in 53, 54, and compare them to the Ames Brothers and the other pop groups, I said, this is better than that. So just on entertainment level, just on an art form level, it was good. But isn't it great, and isn't God good, that on top of this, I'm going to give you a lyric that's going to blow your mind and day to day.
All right, Bill, I got three questions. You got an appointment to get to, so I want to get these in before we say goodbye. I heard a statement that was quoted to you about awards and Gaither's getting awards for this, that, or the other. And you made some kind of statement that something about how that it was nice to receive from men, but you didn't, and you clarified this, you didn't necessarily give God praise for the awards because he wasn't giving the awards, that you felt like that he was much more concerned with more important things like Ebola in Africa or so forth. Can you
I could have been,
that?
I could have been very capable of saying that, because I don't think I've really ever thanked God for an award. I thank God for the gift of being able to do what I do, but I've always thanked the people who gave me the award, because on a given day, I don't think Jesus could care less, less about the award. Now, the beautiful thing about it is this, because I've had people say, what do you think about it? I said, I've never written a song to say, boy, I hope this gets a Grammy, or I hope this gets a Dove or a Singing Fan Award, or whatever the award is. I just wrote it because and can I tell you something else? I think when Hank Williams put his guitar and wrote the secular song, Hear That Lonesome Whippoorwill, it sounds too blue to fly. The midnight train is whining low. I'm so lonesome I could cry. I don't think he sat down and said, now what would be the demographic of this, and who's the person? You know what I think? He was sad because somebody he loved walked away from him. And as I wonder where you are, I'm so, writers write stuff out of their heart. If it does happen to get an award, that's a bonus. That's nice. But he's going to write it, whether or not it ever gets an award. So yes, I will claim ownership to that thought that I think it's important that we don't take ourselves too seriously. I think we need to take God very seriously, but let's don't take ourselves too seriously.
Great words. We know the musical influences on Bill Gaither, but I'm curious, who are the pastors or the speakers that have inspired you over the years? Who are the preachers that seemingly God has used to influence your life?
I've had several models in my life. I was at a men's meeting one night, and they said, who is the most important male figure in your life? Because it was a men's meeting. And I said, I can't give you one. I can give you a composite. And my dad would have to be at the top. My dad. We could do a whole session sometime on my dad's one-liners. He was brilliant. I could be worried about something. He'd say, "Oh, Bill, it's probably not as bad as you think it is." And he'd pause and say, "And it probably wasn't as good as you thought it was." So my dad would be a major influence, and my granddad be a major influence. And the academic dean at Anderson University would be a major influence on my life. Who was also a minister. He was also a minister, and Dr. Reardon, who was also a preacher, and and a minister, and Jake would be part of my composite of five people who had influenced me. But before they came along, growing up as a kid, I started going to church with my grandma and grandpa. My dad and mom were just as good as folks you could ever find anywhere, just perfect in every kind of way, except church attendance was not something that they did when they were younger. Now, dad and mom later on did. But so I'd go to grandma and grandpa. And I can remember our early pastors. I can remember Reverend Hartley. When I say it, yeah, I smile because two of his daughters are still alive. They're my age, 80 years old, in Boise, Idaho, close to Nampa. And when I get with them, I will tell them, I can remember times with your dad when he did this and when he did that. He was an early, there was a guy named Bill Master, everybody called him Brother Master, who was one of the early pastors. And then in the Church of Nazarene, we had some pretty pretty stellar evangelists that would come through town. They were always interesting. They were colorful. And I'm sorry, they were also entertaining, Bill.
Oh, yes. Especially for their day.
Yeah, for their day. I can remember a Dr. Lawrence Hicks, who was just mesmerizing. Bernie Smith. I can name you so many names. I can remember pastors' wives. I can remember Sister Henderson, who was a wonderful. I thank God for the influence. I had a wonderful mother, so I didn't need a mother image. But it was another spiritual dimension to me. And I can remember when I was young, I had friends who were very young to very old. And now that I am old, I got friends from very old to very young. And I spent a lot.
Bill, it's interesting to me hearing you talk about the influences and mentors. I'm reminded of Rodney Griffin's song called Faces, because no one that you just mentioned is what we would call famous, but yet they were people who had monumental impact in, again, not to be overly gratuitous, but in a famous person's life. To hear you talk like that, to me, is just astounding. Just astounding. I got one other question, and before we go, I want to remind you, Bill, about, before I do that, of a story that I told you, just so it's on tape, that to me is the greatest statement that could be made about Bill Gaither. And several years ago at our winter convention, it's a week-long event, kind of like a mini quartet convention, and we always try to have a special guest outside of the box. And this particular year, we had Sandy Patty. And Sandy was there, and we're a different world in the Southern gospel world than Sandy, all part of the same family, but, very unusual for her to be in that setting. And we didn't know how she would respond. We didn't know if she would just come out, do her thing, and go right back or what. But at the very beginning that night, she sat side stage, listened to everyone else on the show, including my own kids that did a little pre-show. And then, of course, she destroyed it like she does. She has an incredible gift. Afterwards, she even came out to the lobby like a lot of the gospel artists do, to her table, which I was told was She never does. It's just a different world in her world. But she did that because it was the kind of expected thing. Later that night, before she left, I went to her and I told her, I said, you know, what you did tonight was incredible. I said, but that was not what impressed me. And then I shared with her about everything I just told you. She started tearing up and crying, and she told me, she said, I got my start touring with Bill Gaither. And Bill Gaither taught us that on any given night, any one of us might hit a home run. But if we're all on the same team, we all win. And I thought that to me describes Bill Gaither and the entourage that you have, no matter who's part of the team on that particular night. It always seems to be about the team, that at the end, everyone wins. And so with that in mind, in closing, I just want to ask you, you've been a part of so many people's lives, the Goodmans, Jake, Dottie, JD, all of those great legends. You have helped set the tone for how they are remembered. Instead of fading away, you helped them leave this world as the kings and queens that they truly were.
They should be.
How does Bill Gaither want to be remembered? What's the legacy that you want to leave?
Well, yeah. You could say a lot of things about me. I guess I won't have any control over when it happens. I'm tempted to maybe do a video to help. As Mark says, at your homegoing, you're going to say, this the final homecoming. If you've enjoyed this brief television. But I got to go back to the bridge, Bill. I'm really sad at the division that's in our world today, in churches, and a lot of it's over music, and music should bring us together. It's just, and then I look in the political world, and of course the polarization is so strong. And I look at people. I think of when I read the All Quiet on the Western Front book, when he was in the foxhole with a German that had just been, the guy was dead, and he got his billfold out of this was the enemy. This is who they were killing. And he got his billfold out. There was a picture of his wife. There's a picture of his kids. And he sat there, tears were running down his face, and say, why do we do this? I mean, it's one thing with words, sticks and stones, but words, words, that whole business about words. Why do we do this? I love Russ's song, and we sing it a lot. You're my brother, you're my sister. Won't you take me by the hand? Together we will serve until he comes. There's no foe that can defeat us. And I've been criticized for the reaching part. Some people say, oh, I don't think I'd reach that far. Well, I don't know of any other way to do it, Bill. So I hope they would say, the old boy was a bridge. He spent his life in saying there are more things that unite us than those things that divide us.
I can't think of a better way to end today. Bill, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been really special today.
Blessings. I've had fun.
I sure enough have too. You've been watching the Two Bills of Gospel Music with Bill Bailey and gospel music pioneer, Bill Gaither. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks, Bill.
Blessings.
You've been watching the Two Bills of Gospel Music, a candid conversation about life, family, gospel music, and legacy. This program has been made available by Bill Bailey Concerts, with special thanks to Bill Gaither. For more information on anything Gaither, go to gaither.com. For more information on Bill Bailey Concerts, go to billbaileyconcerts.com.